Okay, so it is 2 o'clock and I want to talk about forgiveness options for those not in the public sector. So I'll give everybody a couple minutes to jump on, so I'm not talking to myself. But this is going to be some important information because there's a misconception about student loans and who qualifies for forgiveness and who doesn't. So thanks guys for joining. So there is a misconception, like I said, of those people that really think that you have to be in the public sector in order to qualify for student loan forgiveness. That is not true. There are multiple forgiveness options. Now, I did talk about the other day public service loan forgiveness and the new temporary forgiveness program that's available for those that didn't get public service loan forgiveness that maybe should have, that have a second opportunity. But today I want to talk about more specifically those of you that are not in the public sector, are not working nonprofit or government, that still may qualify for forgiveness. So there's 2 other types of forgiveness programs currently, and there may be even another program here going forward, but as it stands right now, we're looking at 2 basic programs. There is what I call the IBR forgiveness program, and there is the pay-as-you-earn repay forgiveness program. So basically what those 2 mean is that depending on the algorithm of how your student loans are calculated, they look at things like family size, student loan balances, income factors, interest rates on your loans, all of those factors to determine if maybe your payments are too high and you should be paying less. So as an example, let's say that you have $100,000 in student loans and your income's only $50,000. So $50,000 a year. Let's say you have a family size of 3, okay? You got a spouse and a child. So based on those factors, it's very possible that your payment amount, which would have been close to about $1,100, would end up being, let's say, $300. And I'm just throwing numbers out there, so don't quote me on these exact figures. So let's assume you go from a $1,000 payment to $300 payment, right? So that's a $700 a month difference. That difference sits off to the side. So it's not compound interest. It's very simple interest. It sits off to the side. Over time, you might continue to pay much lower than what a standard payment is to pay your balance off in that time frame. So for example, in a pay-as-you-earn or a repay program, they are going to base your payment on 10% of your discretionary income. So they're looking at your adjusted gross income, okay? Based on that, your payment might be lower. Therefore, it's sitting off to the side, the difference between what you've paid and what you currently are paying, what you should have paid, okay? That difference is going to be paid off by the government through that forgiveness program, okay? And you don't have to be in public service. You don't have to be a teacher or a nurse. You don't have to be nonprofit. This is for anybody with a regular, quote-unquote, regular job. But there's income stipulations, okay? If you're making $200,000 a year, you're not going to qualify. But if your income's a little bit lower, especially lower than your balance, then there's a good chance that you would qualify for forgiveness of the loans. Now, for example, you know, if you're making, like I said, 50 grand maybe, so maybe you're only making $50,000 a year, you're at $100,000 in loans, you're going to qualify. But let's say you only have $10,000 in loans and you're making $50,000 in income. You're not going to qualify. Your balance is too low. So it really depends. Every situation is different. So I want you guys to make sure that you take away from this that just because your friend or your neighbor qualifies doesn't mean that you do. Just because they don't qualify doesn't mean that you don't qualify. Maybe you have a larger family size. Maybe you're taking care of a spouse. Maybe your income is lower. Maybe your student loan balance is higher. There's so many different factors. There's an algorithm that's involved in figuring out for sure if you qualify or if you don't, okay? I can tell you, it's a quick 15-20 minute phone call for me to tell you whether you qualify or not and give you an estimate of what that forgiveness amount would look like. Okay, I charge a $100 assessment. It's not a big deal as far as costs. It could save you thousands and thousands of dollars. A lot of people did not realize that they were in the wrong payment program. If they would have been in the right payment program over the last, say, 5 years, 10 years, they'd be halfway to qualifying for forgiveness. But they didn't know, so they're not going to get as large of a forgiveness as they would have. So, it's really important to understand that, obviously, A, you should hire an expert to tell you what program you should be in, but B, recognize that maybe there's some programs out there that you didn't know existed. I have some blogs that talk about these different program options and so forth, so you're welcome to read up on it. I can always send you information about it. I do talk about it in one of my books, my student loan management book, so you can always take a look at it there as well if you like. But the key factor is that a lot of people think that the only way to get forgiveness is by working in the public sector or working in an impoverished area or being a teacher or being a nurse, and that is not the case. Student loan forgiveness comes in 3 different forgiveness options. So one of them is, of course, public service loan forgiveness, but the other 2 are based on the status of your loans. Based on income factors, based on family size factors. So there's so many different ways of qualifying. So I want you guys to be aware of that. So those of you that didn't know that, this might be, something to really look into and say, let me calculate and determine what my options are. And I can do that for you. So you can go to my website, which is studentloanmanagement.info. Click on contact, click on appointment, schedule a free appointment with me. I can discuss your options. I can go over the different repayment programs. I can go over the different forgiveness options, and we can determine if you qualify. Like I said, I charge $100 for an assessment, small price to pay if you have no idea if you qualify or not and you don't know how to calculate it. I do use the government's calculator to determine your forgiveness amounts, to determine what your payments could be. I even look at things like, should you consolidate your loans? Maybe there's a better consolidation option than what you're in right now. Consolidation might get you an even lower payment than what you currently have, even if you think your payment's pretty low. So all of those things go into that assessment. So should I consolidate, yes or no? What's the lowest possible payment plan I should be in? Do I qualify for forgiveness? And if so, how much do I qualify for? Is there another restructuring plan that would make more sense for my account? So even if you don't qualify for forgiveness, maybe you should be putting your money into some type of investment strategy, generating wealth, rather than paying down more to the student loans. That's another avenue to look at, and that's something that I look at through that assessment as well. So like I said, I do a quick assessment for you. It's only $100. You have it within 24 hours or less, and you will know exactly what your options are. So I hope that helped. Again, if you have questions, you can always post those questions here. I'd be happy to answer those questions for you and go into more detail. But if the easiest and best way is just schedule a free call. We can discuss your particular situation. I can determine right off the bat if it makes sense for you to even do an assessment, and then we go from there. Do an assessment, and then I can tell you what your options are. And then, of course, we have services that do help if you decide that you want to utilize our services, that we do all the paperwork for you, we handle contacting your lenders, we submit everything for you, we make sure it's done correctly, we make sure you're in the right payment program, because a lot of people that should have qualified for forgiveness in 2017 didn't, just because they didn't know what options they were supposed to go in and fill out, what paperwork to do, what they should say on their paperwork, what they shouldn't say. A lot of times people disqualify themselves just for giving the wrong income information. Don't tell them everything. There's certain income information you're allowed to use, but if you use the wrong one, you might disqualify yourself. So just little tricks of the trade, things that I've learned after 13 plus years of being in the industry. So I am here to help. I hope to be a resource for you guys. So again, don't hesitate to touch base with me and go to my website. So it's studentloanmanagement.info. Click on contact, click on appointment. It'll schedule you right then with a time that's convenient for both of us, and we'll go from there. So hope that helped. I hope you guys have a great Monday and a great week, and I look forward to hearing from a lot of you. I could really help you save a ton of money, so reach out and let me be a resource. All right, ciao.